Hello and welcome back to Norrin Reads. In this episode I will be reviewing the fourth issue of the Silver Surfer series from 1987 that spanned all the way until 1996. This issue was written by Steve Englehart, penciled and colored by Marshall Rogers, and inked by Joe Rubinstein. Issue number 4 shows the Surfer damaged in battle from his encounter with the Runner, having been rescued by Mantis. He wakes up and she explains that she used poultices and medicinal herbs to help him and to heal him, and she also actually entered the herbs that went into his body to watch over their efficacy. The Surfer recognizes Mantis from previous encounters, but he doesn't understand how she could survive on this planet that they're on because it's full of methane and the temperature is incredibly high. Mantis simply points out that the Surfer has not thanked her for her help. So he thanks her and he questions who she is because she's clearly not the Mantis that he knew. She basically wants him to explain how he came to be where he is before she answers his question. So he responds. He explains that after he escaped Earth, he went to see Shalabal, and realizing that he couldn't spend his life with her, he left heartbroken. And he says, "I rode the surf of solar winds away from Shala's world, but stopped on Panamit for one final view. The alignment of the stars, the grandeur of the constellations from that point, the lush and fragrant foliage on which a weary traveler can lay even a near invulnerable form. I always breathed the vapors there. But when I did so this time, I suddenly saw the threat the Grandmaster posed to the west and east coast Avengers. I couldn't explain it. I only knew it was true." He explains that his intervention allowed Hawkeye to save all of the West Coast and East Coast Avengers. He explains how he confronted the Collector, and the Collector professed ignorance, and he set out once more to investigate, only to fall prey to the Runner's attack, and here he is now. Now the Surfer wants Mantis to tell her story. She agrees, but she says that her story is complex and they have far to go, so she should tell him the story atop his gleaming board. And he asks, "Where are we going?" And she says, "To a hidden conclave of our enemies." So while they're flying, she tells him her origin. She explains that she was raised an orphan on the streets of Saigon. She became involved with a swordsman who was a member of the Avengers, but after he died, she found evidence that proved she wasn't who she thought she was. She was raised in the Earth Temple of the priests of Pama, and apparently they were pacifists, and they are outcasts of the Kree Empire. They cultivated and awakened a plant consciousness called the Kotati, and she was taught martial arts by these priests, and because of her affinity for the Mantis attack, that's where they gave her her name. And she was taught to communicate with this Kotati so she can commune with plants. She buried the swordsman's body beneath a Kotati plant, and the life force of the Kotati actually inhabited his body and brought him back to life. So she married this Kotati form, and their spirits left Earth together and conceived a child. When the child was to be born, Mantis's spirit actually came back to Earth, and it had to regrow a body out of plant life so she could actually bear the child. So she did so, and now the child needs time in solitude and needs his mother not, she claims. Thus, this one reappears, she explains. And this time, this one lives as the Kotati do, under whatever conditions. And she moves from world to world as surely as blood courses and sap flows. The Surfer asks her why she's helping him, and she explains that her connection to plant life throughout the cosmos has given her insight into what the Elders are planning, and it brought her insight as to his presence within this kind of scheme, and she waited and watched to see which side he chose. And since the Surfer is clearly on the side of good, she's willing to help him. Meanwhile, on Krelar, the capital of the Kree Empire, which is this planet which is entirely covered in machinery, they say that nothing grows there except power. And at the core, they have a living cybernetic computer system which combines all of the military minds of ancient Kree, countless minds. It's called the Supreme Intelligence, and it's getting information from all corners of the Empire at all times. From time to time, it murmurs. From time to time, it speaks. The Skrulls have lost their shape-changing powers. So the Supreme Intelligence has gathered information from across the galaxy and has deduced that the Skrulls have lost their shape-changing ability. Meanwhile, back on a Skrull world, the information is relayed that the ambassador that was sent to Zenla is now dead, and they believe that the Kree have not discovered their secret based on their plan to commit suicide so that this shape-changing loss cannot be found. While this discussion is being had, a celestial appears on the Skrull world. Meanwhile, Silver Surfer and Mantis have arrived at the planet she led them to. They discuss their plan, how they're going to approach the planet so that the Elders don't see them. They're going to come in on the lower horizon with the sun on their back, and they're going to move as fast as possible. The Surfer is concerned that Mantis's body can't handle the speed. He tells her to hold on to his surfboard while they fly in, and she explains that This body is composed of mental energy. It can withstand any force you can generate. And if this one must hold onto something, it will not be something so lifeless as a board. And she grabs around his leg. He says, well, as you will. They descend to the planet and they see the elders communing. They see the Grand Master, the Collector, the Runner, the Champion, someone the Surfer assumes must be the Possessor, the Gardener, and the Contemplator, and 4 elders that they don't recognize. Surfer and Mantis hear the elders discuss their plans and what's been going on. So in the events of West Coast Avengers Annual number 2 and Avengers Annual number 16, there was this huge ordeal involving Death and the Grand Master. And the result of that is that the Grand Master and the rest of the elders are no longer welcome in the realm of death. So essentially, they are all immortal now. One of the elders we meet is called the Astronomer, and he explains to Champion, and now learn why the Silver Surfer had to die before we begin the next phase. Champion questions, the next phase? You mean there is more? Much more, Champion, the Grandmaster replies. Because although we are the oldest denizens of this reality, there is one who is older still, one who comes from the previous reality to this one, Galactus. And Galactus must die. As soon as the Grandmaster says this, Silver Surfer and Mantis are discovered by Ego, the living planet. They are actually standing on the planet itself, which is another elder. He was in his proto-humanoid form. He was standing amongst the elders, so that's why he didn't realize they were there immediately. The jig is up, they're caught, a battle ensues. Ego starts using the planet to attack them, to capture the Surfer. He breaks free. Mantis is trained in martial arts, so she begins to fight the elders in hand-to-hand combat. She's pretty effective in this fight. She can obviously hold her own. Finally, she's grabbed by the Champion and she can't break free. The Surfer goes under the ground and bursts out, grabs her, and tells her, "Time for us to leave." She replies, "Past time, Norrin." While they're escaping, the Collector fires at the Surfer, but he can't hit him. He explains, "I don't gather my things to use them, traitor. Others should be doing this." The traitor, another one of the elders we just met, he replies, "They will, brother. They will." The Surfer says, "That was a near thing. They're all near since the elders arrived." Mantis responds, "But we did learn their plan, so there's no turning back for us now. And we work so well together." And she kisses him. The Surfer smiles, and they fly off into space. He says, "They called me a gnat. They were very wrong." Next, obliteration. I really enjoyed this issue. I enjoyed meeting more of the elders and sort of getting more in depth as to what they are planning. It was interesting to read Mantis's origin story and to sort of figure out her powers. I really like her. I think she's a very sweet character and a very capable character. I think she's a good match for the Surfer. I'm happy to see that there's a burgeoning romance here. The Surfer really deserves that after what he's been through, in my opinion. I'm excited to see the Celestials show up. I'm interested to see where that goes, and I can really tell that they're building towards something interesting, and I'm looking forward to whatever that is. So thank you again for joining me, and we'll see you out there on the cosmic spaceways.